where I guess for myself, I didn't know who I was.
Listen, I did not struggle as much as you.
And I feel like I kind of went through like an identity crisis.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Happy Life Podcast. We've been away for quite some time, but we are back better than ever. I have an official co-host here with me, Mrs. Alexis. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit? Let us know what you're about, and then we'll get right into this episode.
Yeah, so my name's Alexis. I am his wife. I think last time we filmed, or I was on the podcast, I was your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So huge life update. I am a wife now, and I was never a co-host with you. I was just a guest on like 2 episodes.
Correct.
And now I'm a co-host. So I've kind of hopped on to the podcast with you, and now we are doing it together.
We are. Quite a few changes. Obviously, an official co-host, which is not something that I had before. It's not something that the episode or the podcast had before, but it's definitely something that the podcast needed. Just an official co-host that could be, because making a solo podcast is extremely difficult, and also finding guest is also
we had
a
a different guest every single episode,
right?
And that was challenging to schedule and who you wanted on the podcast, if they were available, and like all of that. So now you have an official co-host, and maybe we'll bring some guests on. I don't know yet, but as of right now, it's me.
Right. Yeah, as of right now, it's you and I. We're going to be really working towards bringing the podcast back to full swing, and more content and continuous episodes, and really just
be like consistent. That's the big thing. It's just consistency.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard previously to be consistent. The last podcast, like I said, you had a different guest constantly. Didn't have the best setup.
Yeah,
we were borrowing people's places. Well, you were borrowing people's places to record, and it was just, there was a lot of pieces that had to line up for an episode to be filmed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then of course, like life happens, and things obviously changed for us. Like you mentioned, you are my wife. We are actually in a completely different state from where we were back then. We are in Texas.
We were in California.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. So quite a few changes. But all in all, we would just really like to keep consistency going through with this podcast, and really grow it to a level where we can reach as many people as possible, and really kind of spread the message.
Yeah. And just create like a safe space.
Yeah.
Just talk about stuff. I feel like everybody goes through the same things in life, but no one ever talks about it. So we don't know that we're all going through the same things. And just to kind of, we can talk about, I guess what we're going through, or just like stuff that we've experienced, and just see if it resonates with somebody else. And maybe that's a message they need to hear. Maybe it's not a message they don't need to hear, but just creating a safe space to make it more common and okay to talk about stuff that we may go through, or people may go through in general. I think one thing that made us realize this was our friends that we met out here.
Yeah.
Our friends Miguel and Melissa. Once we started to get to know them, we opened up a lot to them. We realized we were going through a lot of similar stuff together, like stuff that maybe we had just done and not they're doing, and vice versa, stuff that they had done and now we are just maybe doing. Right. And I feel like just opening up to them and being vulnerable made us realize, like, hey, there's other people out here like us. Like, we're not alone. We just have to
be willing to put ourselves in that situation
and be vulnerable and see kind of where it gets us.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. And then in the same token, I think there was probably so many people out there that don't really have anybody to talk to. Obviously we were lucky enough to come across our friends and get to know them, and they are wonderful people. But not everybody has that.
Yeah.
And so we would really like to create this podcast and provide that. And like you mentioned, talk about all those things that are difficult to talk about. I think we've definitely gotten better at talking about those things, and we really communicate very well.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about the internet now. Yeah. It's easier to reach people now.
Yeah, that's
internet and like YouTube, like everything, social media. So I feel like it's just made it easier to be able to connect with people, but it doesn't mean it's still easy to connect with people.
Yeah,
it's just easier.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I like that. I liked it a lot. So with that being said, the entire I guess, premise around this episode is going to be our vulnerability, and we're going to be getting vulnerable about what our move looked like for us. Taking it all the way back on my own scheme from the moment that the podcast came to a pause, and the reasoning for that, and all the changes that were going on. So obviously our living situation changed. We had to get out of the apartment where we had our last few episodes. And then we moved into a situation where we really could not record, or just
we didn't have a space to
record.
The space
to record. And in at that same time, in that space, we were trying to decide whether we were going to stay in the state or move out.
Yeah, if we were gonna stay there, find our own place, or start somewhere else.
Start somewhere else.
So that was a big change.
Yeah. And then, it started to get, a little bit tricky. We were older, and at that point we had officially married each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was just making tough decisions and making tough choices, and really deciding whether we were going to, stick around and live day to day, paycheck to paycheck, or whether we were going to put ourselves in a uncomfortable situation and kind of look for more life at that time.
I think that was like our biggest like moment of vulnerability, was deciding like what we were going to do. Were we going to stay in California, or were we going to move and go somewhere else? And obviously we're in Texas now, so we did move. We picked that option and we did decide to move, but it was hard, and we were vulnerable out here. We actually came out here with no jobs and just a savings account, and we just kind of figured it out. And that was like 100% being vulnerable. And we had only visited Texas twice. Mm-hmm. First time we visited was just to come visit.
Right.
And the second time was apartment hunting.
Right.
So we really made a move here based off one visit.
Exactly.
And the second time we came out here to apartment hunt, we were here for like 3 days.
We were here for 3 days.
And one day was set aside for apartment hunting. So we were really here for 2 days.
2 days. Yeah.
Then we found an apartment. We had a few apartments that we were interested in, and since we had come like 4 months,
4 or 5 months,
4 or 5 months before we'd move, we kind of were on a wait list. It was too early to secure a spot. But we just had an idea of what we liked, what we didn't like. And we got a place and we came out here. Like I said, we came out here with no jobs and just kind of had to like figure it out. And that's kind of where we're at. And I think we've done a good job here, but we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I don't think we have it all together still, but I guess that's the beauty of being vulnerable, and like the beauty of life is just figuring it out.
Yeah. We basically came out here completely naked, 0 jobs and 0 security. The only thing that we knew for sure was that we didn't want what our life looked like back in California. We
wanted to change. We wanted something different. We had just gotten married, no kids. It was kind of, I had just finished school. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a job lined up, and it was kind of like, it's either now or never. If we don't take this opportunity now, are we ever going to get presented with this opportunity again? And will we take it? So that was just kind of like, I guess also the premise of our decision too, like the perfect opportunity to be able to leave. Let's just go for it. I mean, like we always said, if we don't like it, we can always move back, or we can always move somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And like, you're never stuck in any place. Like, we weren't stuck in California. No one was forcing us to stay there. We got up and decided to leave. So the same thing could happen here, where we decided, we don't want to be here anymore. Let's like move. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And I think moving here actually made that realization so much easier. Like once we got here and we were able to look in the rearview mirror and see what our life looked like, and realize like, wow, we really were never tied down to one place. We could have gone anywhere. And same, like you mentioned, same thing here. Now we can go anywhere else too if we really wanted to. But I mean, it was a wild journey. It's been a wild journey getting to where we are now. We are officially like a year and a half into
We're
Texas
about
living. It'll be
2 years
in
ago
July.
in July, but 2 years ago this time is when we were apartment hunting. So essentially 2 years.
We came in toward this exact apartment complex, along with a few others.
And it's just crazy to seem that like 2 years has
flown by. Yeah. And it's so crazy to look at yourself from 2 years ago and realize like how much you change in the little amount of time that is 2 years.
Yeah.
I like sometimes we think 2 years
is so
long, and then we don't do anything with those 2 years. Like time is gonna pass you anyways. You might as well make the decision to do something different, something better for yourself and for your significant other and for your future families, and just go for it, whatever that thing is.
Yeah. Well, I feel like time is you can look at it different ways. You can look at it as it went by super fast or went by slow, and like I feel like different memories and different events kind of change your just the perspective. The pace of time. Like and I think about like all the times I cried after we moved here, and just like everything we went through, was like, man, that's been a long 2 years.
Yeah.
But then when I think about like all the happy times and the good memories we had, I'm like, wow, they like flew by.
Right.
And like now our lease is about to be up, and we've got to decide if we're going to renew it or not, or like move somewhere else. And it's like, wow, 2 years already. So this would be the second time we'd possibly be renewing this lease. And like, that's crazy. But perspective is, like I said, sometimes it seems like it's been a very long time that we've been here.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what your move was like and how it might have been challenging, or what you liked about it? And then I'll do the same right after you, or I can do it before, whichever.
Yeah, I think what was challenging for me was nobody knew me out here. I didn't know anybody out here. I mean, we do have a little bit of family out here, but besides them, like nobody knows us out here. And back at home, like me and you went to the same middle school, to the same high school. We had a lot of like mutual friends. We lived in the same area, close to the same area we went to school in. So like we kind of knew a good amount of people around us. So people already knew who we were.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we were famous, but like we were around the same people. We've been around the same people since middle school,
Right.
Right. And just like being out here and like not knowing anybody and having to like introduce yourself to people, and just like thinking like, who are you? And you're like, oh, I don't know who I am. So I don't remember the last time I've had to explain to somebody really like who I was, because I was back being in Southern California, like lived there most of my life, that like I always knew somebody that knew somebody.
Right. So there was always an expectation of who you are, and they kind of like know a little bit about you.
And like coming out here, I guess for myself, I didn't know who I was. I feel like my personality was already, and like who I was already predetermined, or like people already knew about it. And then nobody knew me out here. And I feel like I kind of went through like an identity crisis, and I was trying to figure out like, who was I as a person? Like, who am I to the core? What do I like? What I don't like? And I know that sounds so dramatic that I'm saying it's like an identity crisis, but that's literally how I felt, that I didn't know anybody out here. No, there was nothing that was like, not comfortable, but familiar. Nothing was familiar to me out here. I felt like, oh, like this is really familiar. I feel safe here. Not saying I wasn't safe here, but like I was very vulnerable out here. I didn't know anybody. I kind of had to figure it out, going to the grocery store and like having to find a new grocery store and walking around and not knowing where anything's at. Like that's really weird to do because I've been going to the same grocery store forever, and I know where everything, I could walk the grocery store I'd always go to with my eyes closed. I knew where everything was out there. Yeah. And now having to like readjust here and like meet people and like, I don't know, like I said, it was just like a weird time, and like I just didn't know who I was, and was trying to find like friends out here. And I ended up meeting our friend Melissa, and we met through a Facebook group. But like even having to like introduce myself
to her
on the Facebook group to try to like make friends, I was like, what do I even post?
Yeah.
What do I like? What I don't like? You know, I didn't know like how to put myself out there because I was just so comfortable of being home and kind of knowing everybody.
Gotcha.
So that was very hard for me to do. I guess that would be my biggest like vulnerability thing out here, was just figuring myself out and who I was as a person.
Wow. I really liked how you mentioned that like you always expect somebody to know who you are. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I mean, obviously I knew what you went through and I knew that you struggled with all that stuff, but you worded it beautifully.
Thanks.
That was really perfectly worded, and I'm kind of in awe. I do think that, I mean, it's a clean slate at the same time. You know, it's a clean slate. You could be whoever you are.
Yeah, I mean, I could lie to everybody about myself, and they would never know. They know nothing about me unless they decided to like go through my Facebook or like my Instagram. Obviously, they could see what I'm about that way. But I mean, social media isn't always real. But like nobody knows me out here.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and that's some of the challenges. Both challenges and bonuses of going somewhere completely new, somewhere where nobody knows you. I mean, like if you're struggling, trying to get something off the ground, and you feel like no matter how much you change, or if you're scared to change, if you are scared to, like renew yourself as an individual, and you don't want to be who you used to be or who people know you for, a move can be
like a fresh start.
Yeah. I never thought about it from that perspective. I really didn't. And like I said, I'm really in awe about the way that you worded it. I thought that was really, really perfect. That was really well done.
So what would you say was your biggest like vulnerability thing out here?
Yeah, my biggest challenge, what really challenged me the most was finding work. And then I did not struggle as much as you. I do want to be fair to you in that sense. I did not struggle as much as you. And then looking back at it, I really did not struggle at all.
No, because you were jobless for like a month and a half.
And we knew that the month and a half was in the budget when we moved out here. So it really was not a challenge at all. I just I wrongfully assumed that I was going to be able to knock on somebody's door because I'm a mechanic by trade, and so I can fix cars anywhere I go. But I just expected to be able to knock on somebody's door and immediately find a position somewhere. And it ended up being like a month and a half.
Which technically is relatively fast. A month and a half.
Exactly. Right.
That month and a half that we were both home with nothing to do. I mean, we went on walks and we explored our new city that we were living in. But like from us working to then a month and a half, both of us being home every single day, that month and a half seemed so long.
It did. And we also didn't work when we were back home for like a week or 2 weeks or something like that.
Right before our move,
because we wanted to like say bye to our families and kind of like do our goodbyes. But yeah, you're right. That month did seem like a really long time. Yeah,
really long time. Because we were talking about your work anniversary the other day. And you told me what month it was. And I was like, that was only like a month and a half after we moved here.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. I swear you were unemployed for like 3-4 months.
No. But yeah, right back to that. That was probably my biggest challenge. And it was only a big challenge because I came to the realization that the entire support of my family was in my hands.
Yeah.
There's a book. And that's not really something that I had. I guess, like when we lived in California, we had a roommate, and you were working.
I was working.
You were working a lot, and I was working, and so it just felt more shared. But being out here, I don't know. It felt like I had more responsibility to take care of you and provide in that aspect, and just kind of leaning into that part of me was very challenging. It was
a different role you had to take on.
It's a different role. Yeah, it was a completely different role, something I wasn't accustomed to. And I had little to no guidance in that sense. So yeah, it proved a little bit challenging. But for the most part, that was about it. After I was able to find work and, be able to provide and things started to fall in place for me, I really didn't struggle with anything else.
Yeah.
The weather, goddamn, was
a challenge because we came in the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer.
And it was so hot. Coming from obviously California, 70s every day, the breeze, to living in an inferno was a big change.
Yeah, it was a big change. But other than that, I really didn't have any challenges. I mean, there's a ton of like personal, independent, like individual challenges that come about, but other than that, I mean,
I will say that was your biggest one.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, not anywhere close to where you
But
struggled.
I mean, not that, it's just like, not to throw myself under the bus, but I mean, in California, I had 3 jobs and you had 1 job and everything was shared. And then we came out here and I couldn't find a job and all the responsibility got thrown on you. So it went from like shared income and shared bills to you're paying for everything because I can't land a job. Right. So, I mean, it took you only a month and a half.
But for that month and a half.
Yeah. But like since you got that job, you've been the main provider. And that was a change. Like, you married somebody that had 3 jobs to now a housewife. Right. Like, there was just a complete change. And that's probably not what you were expecting. And just, it's kind of just how it's played out. But I mean, I think that's still something, I guess, to be proud of yourself. And that was a vulnerable thing because you, like you said, you didn't have much guidance. And it literally went from me having 3 jobs to me not working within 2 weeks.
Right.
And then it stayed me not working for a very long time and nothing changed. So yeah.
Maybe if you don't mind sharing with us like what your search for work was like, or if that was challenging. You don't have to if you don't want to, obviously. I just thought it kind of tied in a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's been a struggle. So like we said, it's almost been 2 years that we've been out here and I'm still struggling to find a job. More in my like career field, what I went to school for. Yeah. I guess to find a big girl job after going to school for 6 years. Like, you get told like, go to school, you'll make money when you go to school will pay the bills. And unfortunately that has not been the case for me. I went to school for 6 years and it still has not paid my bills. And, Uncle Sam is at the door knocking, asking for these loans back. And I have nothing to show for, and I feel like that's been hard for me was that, I lost my train of thought. But it's just been a struggle for me to find a job. And like, I guess it is still hard to say it out loud sometimes, but I am still jobless. Like I do have a job. It's a temporary job. It's helping financially, but like I'm still jobless. And I feel like that, I guess this is my other vulnerability point, was like, I guess accepting my new life or accepting what has happened in my life and like going from like being a hustler and like working 3 jobs to then like not having a job at all and not being able to get a job and just like, is it me? Like, why am I not landing any of these jobs? Like, I don't know. That has been hard. And I still don't know the answer to that on why I can't get a job out here. But I mean, it has been hard, but I've also just, I don't know, kind of trusted the process and kind of see where life's take me. I think at the beginning of our move, I was very hard on myself and I cried a lot and like just felt so worthless and useless. And like, I always tell you, like, I don't discredit your career at all, but I'm like, you went to school for 2 years and got a certificate, like a trade school certificate essentially. And I got my master's degree. And how come you can get a job and I can't? And how come you're making all like a good amount of money and I'm making barely anything? So that was really hard to just deal and accept with. And I mean, I still have my moments where I'm like, it makes me sad, but I just kind of tell myself like I know it's so cliche, but what's meant to be is meant to be. Right. And I just kind of have just learned to like roll with the punches and just like not accept, but like it is what it is right now, and this is what I'm going through. So this is the difficulties I'm going through in life, and just accept them, and we'll figure it out. And if something is meant for me, then it's meant for me, and I'll keep trying to apply to jobs. And if it's the one, it's the one. If not, then it just, I used to take it so personal before when I got rejected, like super personal.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of like, oh, well, it wasn't meant for me.
Yeah.
Where's the next job coming, you know? So I will say that was hard for me in that aspect, just going to school for all these years and it's still not paying off for me. I know they say like, oh, like after you get your master's, it takes about 2 to 3 years to see the money.
Right.
I'm on year 2. And I still haven't seen the money. I mean, maybe this next year it'll change, but like in May, it'll be 2 years since I graduated. And like I said, I don't feel like I have anything to show for with that degree. Yeah.
I do want you to talk to us a little bit about on the opposite side of what these challenges brought to you. If you're able to just kind of paint the picture of what went on behind the scenes while looking for work and the changes that you went through and the realizations and all that little things. Because I thought from my perspective, you had a really beautiful transformation. Yeah. And that you went from working 3 jobs and hustling all the time and, you know, being completely independent. And I just thought you went through some beautiful changes, if you don't mind sharing those with us.
Yeah, kind of going back to like the identity crisis. Since I used to work so many jobs, I've always had 2+ jobs. I've never really had one job at a time. So I feel like that became my identity, was like a workaholic, a hustler. And now coming over here, not having a job, not being able to get a job, I was like, well, that's not my personality anymore. Like that doesn't, like, I guess that doesn't label me anymore because I don't have a job. I'm a housewife now, which I never thought I would be a housewife. I always like, oh, I'm going to be super independent, make all my money. And I became a housewife. And I feel like it humbled me a little bit and just kind of told me to like relax, chill. Things will happen when they happened. And I just kind of had to figure it out. And I feel like I used that time. Well, I still am using that time because like I said, I'm working, but not really working to kind of discover who I was. And at first I didn't like being a housewife. I felt useless. I felt like I could be using my time for other stuff. And I actually love it. I like being a housewife. I like taking care of the house, cooking. I never realized I enjoyed cooking until I started cooking. I was always working so much that I didn't really cook before. We were always eating out. And if I did cook, it was like the quickest thing I could make in 30 minutes. Yeah. And it might not even been the healthiest thing, but whatever. It's food. We ate it. We needed food. And I learned how to cook a lot here, how to make things from scratch. And I really enjoy cooking. So if you follow me on Instagram, I do post a lot of our dinners on there. I don't post recipes, but I post pictures of like what I cook and I try my best to make it like out of scratch. So like I said, I had a lot of free time. I wasn't working and I just kind of tried different things to occupy my time because you can only apply for jobs for so long every day.
And you can only handle so many no's in a week or whatever.
Do so much cleaning in a day. So I did have a lot of free time where it was a lot of self-reflection and like I said, what does Alexis like to do? What are my hobbies? What aren't my hobbies? And all that. And so cooking is what helped me. Cooking became my safe space where I'm kind of territorial in the kitchen.
A little bit.
I don't like you being in the kitchen because it became my safe space. Not even cooking, baking, just being in the kitchen, making stuff from the kitchen. I learned how to make bread, cookies from scratch, like anything, you know, that I could possibly make. But that was what helped me through everything. So I guess that was like the back end of everything. And that's what helped me.
And then if I'll chime in, inside of all of that cooking and all of that cleaning and all of the other little things that you did for us while staying at home, emotionally you grew so much. You had to endure so many rejections and you had to callous your mind against all those no's and and I just saw like a really beautiful transformation in you, and and I hope that one day you'll be able to communicate that, maybe even in this platform, or on your own platforms, but to others, because I do think that it was a full 180.
Yeah. Like sometimes I look at like these 2 years being like the darkest times of my life, but then I also look at these 2 years as being like the best time, just like rediscovering myself and like learning and trying new things. But I also see all the tears, all that I cried, and like you were working so much because you were the only one making money, where you were working almost 12 hours a day.
Pretty much
and
12 hours every day, yeah.
Home alone for 12 hours every day.
Just getting no's. And
and just like being in my
and your own thoughts.
and like my self-doubt and, and all the times I called my family crying while you were at work because I just felt so worthless, Yeah.
And you're not. You never are. And nobody is.
Yeah, well, like looking back at it, like now I don't think I'm worthless, but
Right.
at the time I was like, why could I not get a job?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, understandable.
And I just felt like doo-doo. I was gonna cuss. I was like, I don't know if I can cuss. But that's what I felt like. I just felt terrible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just hard.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I think that was a perfect introduction episode. I think
kind of like a little
intro
of what we've been up to in the last 2 years.
Both to what we've been up to, what the podcast is going to be all about, and what my new co-host is all about. From here on, the new episodes will be, with a topic in mind, and we'll be able to bounce more off each other and kind of give our feedback and gear it in the direction of helping others.
Yeah.
So if you're cool with that, then we'll just outro it here, and we'll call it an episode.
No.
You're not cool?
No.
What happened?
No, we're supposed to. I want to do like, what are you looking forward to this week? So on a positive note.
Okay.
So I guess we'll ask you first. What's one thing you're looking forward to this week, or this week, or this month? Just something you're looking forward to.
Yeah. So we would like to kind of. Do you want to explain this topic, or do you want to explain this this little thing that we're doing here?
Well, just more to like spread positivity and just to get people, I don't know, to reflect a little bit. Like, I mean, we kind of had like a heavy topic right now.
Yeah, that is very true.
So just to kind of lighten up the mood, lighten it up a little bit so it doesn't end on a bad note.
Yeah.
Like me over here on the verge of tears telling you how hard it's been the past 2 years, and then just make it a little bit more positive. So I would like to end every podcast with like, what's something you're looking forward to?
Okay.
To kind of spread positivity.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, no,
that's perfect actually. Okay.
So I'll ask you, what's something you're looking forward to?
This week, I am actually really looking forward to having our cousin in town.
And her baby.
And niece. Her baby. And I'm looking forward to a new week, especially after, sitting on the podcast for so long. I'm actually looking forward to hearing this.
We've been talking about doing this for months, and we just haven't done it.
Yeah, and editing this and putting it all together. So I'm really excited for those two things. And that's gonna be it for me. What about you?
I think for me would be something I'm looking forward to is our next run. We've slowly have gotten into running. I think that's something I look forward to every week is our runs, even though I hate it when I'm running. Just like looking forward to doing that and like pushing our bodies and getting healthier for ourselves and just challenging ourselves a little bit more. So yeah, our run.
Okay, cool. I like that. Well, we would really love to see what you guys are looking forward to in this coming week, coming day, coming time, whatever it is. So let us know what it is that you are looking forward to
in the comments. Let us know what you're looking forward to this week or this month, this year, anything. Some positivity.
Something you're looking forward to. We will definitely iron out this section as we go on. But yeah, and we're gonna call that an episode. We're gonna wrap this up right here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing and liking, and feel free to share with as many people as you can.
Yeah, and just even besides like whatever you're looking forward to. Like, did you resonate with this? Is anything that like you may feel that you resonated with? Who knows? Maybe someone else is going through the same thing that I'm going through.
Yeah. And we can be right there for you all.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I'm going to see a lot of you. They're going to see a lot of you too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.